Greetings everyone, this is Dr. Chad Rolland with Rolland Chiropractic, RollandHealth.com. Today we're going to talk about essential vitamins A, E, D, and K. Those vitamins are called the fat-soluble vitamins because they metabolize like fat and they are stored in your fat. There's a little concern if you take high doses of them for certain reasons over a period of time you can accumulate too many in your body. It's unlikely, but it is something to keep in mind. Let's start by talking about vitamin A. A is an apple. Free radicals are necessary for energy metabolism and immune function. They help with membrane resistance and vitamin D production, for example. But when you have an excessive number of free radicals, they can attack healthy cells or interact and damage those healthy cells. When there's an excessive number of free radicals, they cause damage to other things too, like membrane lipids and proteins. This in turn contributes to a number of degenerative diseases. Beta-carotene, or vitamin A, in the natural form helps protect against these membrane damage, and it helps the epithelium and the mucus integrity. Beta-carotene also quenches some reactive oxygen and oxidative reactions which can impair or destroy important cell components, again like membranes, nucleic acids such as DNA, and enzymes. How powerful is beta-carotene? Well, it's very powerful. Its long molecule is potent enough to absorb the energy of about 1,000 molecules of reactive oxygen. Now, vitamin A, as you also know, affects your vision, helps your vision. Grandma used to say, eat those carrots, has a lot of vitamin A in them. Studies have demonstrated the importance of beta-carotene for normal immune function as well. It helps both the innate and adaptive immune system, and it is an anti-inflammatory. Now, beta-carotene is found in select orange and red vegetables and fruits such as carrots, sweet potatoes, yams, and green leafy vegetables. Also spinach, kale. Another source would be fish oil that some people don't think about, but vitamin A and D are often found in something like cod liver oil. Now, watch out for synthetic versions, which would be listed as retinol palmitate or retinol. Those can create other problems, and they're not as beneficial as taking beta-carotene, and they are harmful in high doses. Here's a form of natural vitamin A, beta-carotene, and here's another form that comes with A, D, and K. It's often thought that taking those fat-soluble vitamins together is beneficial, vitamins A, D, and K. Now we're going to go on and talk about vitamin E. Now, vitamin E is one of the most important antioxidant nutrients, especially for cell membranes. What are we talking about at this time in the spring of 2020? We're talking about damage to cell membranes, particularly in the lung, and how it affects the immune system. So vitamin E is very important to help stabilize and protect these tissues sensitive to oxidation, such as in the lungs, the eyes, or the arteries. It also helps stabilize and protect red blood cells, which we're also hearing about in the news right now. It's important for immune function also because it boosts interferon gamma, which is a cytokine that helps both innate and adaptive immunity against viruses. And vitamin E also helps macrophages. It helps limit oxidation, as I mentioned, and damage to those cells. Here's an example of vitamin E. Now, when you take it, you want to keep in mind of taking the mixed version, which is going to have alpha, gamma, delta, and beta, and not just the basic alpha version. Just taking alpha by itself has been thought to contribute to some health problems. And of course, in nature, when we eat the foods that have vitamin E in it, we're going to have a collection in a balance or a mixed variety. So you want to keep that in mind that you take your supplement. You're going to pay a little more for it, but you want to get that mixed version. Now, vitamin A can be taken in a mixed form, like I said, up to a maximum of about 1,000 international units per day. You will find some of it in different types of a multivitamin, and you'll also find your vitamin E here, and you'll find vitamin D and vitamin K. You want to look at your multivitamin though. People say, I just need a one a day, I get everything I need. They're usually lower levels, and often if it's a cheaper vitamin, an inferior product or even a harmful form of it, it's just not very helpful to your body. So keep that in mind when you're considering about just taking a one a day vitamin. How can you possibly get all those nutrients in just one pill? In most cases, you cannot. Let's go back and talk about where you find vitamin E. Vitamin E is found in whole grains such as wheat germ, also sunflower seeds, raw or in a supplement form. Vitamin D. Vitamin D is a key steroid hormone. It's an anti-inflammatory. It helps with bone metabolism, and then it helps the absorption of calcium and phosphorus. It reduces depression. It may help with autism, cancer, diabetes, and autoimmune problems. It helps the modulation of cell growth. It helps neuromuscular and immune function and regulatory support. Vitamin D3 is the active form, and what happens is we consume vitamin D2 in our diet through vegetables and plants, and that is converted in about 15 minutes of sunshine to vitamin D3 by the ultraviolet light in the outer layers of the skin. How can I tell if I've had enough? If your skin is turning pink, and that's especially more obvious for someone who's Caucasian, but just about 15 minutes exposure to the face, the chest, the back, the arms, the legs is enough to convert that vitamin D and make it useful for your body. Now, one of the problems that we have is we live in an area in the North America that we just don't get enough sunshine. Or if you live in the city, the big buildings block that, or we spend a lot of time working in an office indoors. It's important to consider, well, how does that deficiency of vitamin D affect my immune system in my body? The deficiency affects also autoimmunity and may contribute to increased amounts of autoimmunity in our society. Now, who's deficient for vitamin D? Well, studies have shown that over 40% of all Americans are deficient. But listen to this, again, given that it's 2020 in the spring and the pandemic that we're dealing with, there's evidence that the vitamin D deficiency may contribute to this particular problem that's going on. And it's worse when people are obese, it's worse in the elderly, and of course I said in the North, it's worse when people who are also of dark skin color. And they have found, I said 40% of all Americans, but if someone is African American or another black heritage, more than 80% deficient of vitamin D, and Hispanics or brown color are more than 70% deficient. So there's a high correlation of deficiency of vitamin D and possible immune problems, specifically with respiratory infections. Sunscreens, as I mentioned, reduce the patient's ability to convert that vitamin D2 to D3 by up to 95%. And you want to keep that in mind when you're using sunscreens. Yes, we don't want a sunburn. We don't want to have damage to our skin from the ultraviolet light, but we do want to have some time to convert our vitamin D and get out in the sun and benefit from that. Now, as I mentioned, vitamin D2 comes from mushrooms and some algae or other plants, but to get vitamin D3, we need to have it typically from an animal source if we're trying to take it in a concentrated form directly. Fish oil or possibly lanolin, that's one form from sheep lanolin. And, vitamin D3 sources are fairly low cost, and they seem to be a big help for people for their immune support, particularly with respiratory infections. It takes time to build up vitamin D3 in your body, and daily doses have been found, or even weekly, but daily is even preferred, to be much better as far as effectiveness than when boluses were given only once a month at a doctor's office, let's say as an injection or something like that. So keep that in mind. I want to take it on a daily or a weekly basis and not just take it once in a while. As I mentioned earlier, some people think it's better to take vitamin A, D, and K together. The best way to find out how much your levels are would be to test that. You can contact us if you want us to help you with the testing, or get your medical doctor to order a vitamin D test and find out just how much is in your system. Now, I'm going to refer you to a medical doctor's YouTube video, excellent review of vitamin D3. He goes through the science behind it and the immunity, again, given the fact that we're dealing with this coronavirus in 2020, and there's a lot of evidence out there. Now, I just found, ironically, on Healthline, they're starting to come out with also articles about this. Oh, should we be taking it? Is it going to help? Now, they won't make any commitments to it, but it's really interesting. We don't have a causality factor saying this definitely causes it, but there's a lot of interesting evidence about who is susceptible to this particular viral illness going around, and the risk factors that those people have for vitamin D deficiency. There's other vitamins too that we're going to talk about, but specifically vitamin D. So I'd refer you to Dr. John Campbell. He's a medical doctor from the UK. Excellent vitamin D3 review about respiratory infections and the evidence. In fact, his YouTube link is called Vitamin D and Immunity, Lots of Evidence. As you know, this information is for educational purposes. I'm not your medical doctor or even your chiropractor, and I don't know your condition. So I want you to make sure that you consider this as educational. If you're interested in working with us, you can contact us through our office, our website at rollandhealth.com. We can help you get some vitamin D testing or other testing to find out exactly how healthy your body is and the condition you're in. So I look forward to working with you or talking to you next time. Until next time, this is Dr. Chad Rolland, wishing you the best of health and happiness.